Imagine a time, millions of years ago, when all the continents we know today were squashed together into one massive supercontinent. A world where your feet could have walked from Africa to North America without touching the ocean. Welcome to Pangea. But how did Pangea form, and what was life like on this supercontinent? What can we learn from it about Earth's past, and how does it shape the world we know today? In this chapter, we'll explore how Pangea came to be, what the Earth's climate was like, and what this massive landmass looked like from space. We'll take a journey through time, beginning with the earliest signs of Earth's continents drifting together and ending with the moment they united into Pangea. The story of Pangea starts about 300 million years ago, when Earth's land masses were scattered, creating isolated continents and oceans. But slowly, the power of Earth's shifting tectonic plates began to pull these pieces together. This was not a quick process. It took millions of years for the continents to meet, and when they did, they created a single, unified landmass. This was Pangea. Pangea stretched from the North Pole to the South Pole, and it was unlike anything we see today. The land was vast, continuous, and uninterrupted by oceans. The forces of nature were in overdrive, setting the stage for massive transformations that would affect life in unimaginable ways. Before we go any further, I'd like to ask you something simple. Where are you listening from right now, not only on the map, but within your day? Are you settling down after hours that felt a little too full, or easing into rest earlier than usual? And what time is it where you are? It feels right to ask because the story we're about to enter exists beyond our usual sense of time. The world we're exploring tonight doesn't follow clocks or calendars. It unfolds across stretches so vast they hardly seem to move at all. If this space feels calming to you, or if gentle science helps your thoughts relax their hold, you're always welcome to like the video, subscribe to stay tuned, and at the end, share your thoughts in the comment. It simply helps this quiet corner reach others who may also be looking for something steady and unhurried to listen to, though there's never any rush here. Now let's begin gently as we dive back into what was Earth-like during Pangea. Now talking of life in a single landmass. With such a colossal landmass, Pangea brought about extreme weather patterns. Imagine one side of the continent scorching under the sun, while the other faced a freezing cold climate. How did such a massive supercontinent affect the creatures living there? We'll dive into the wild extremes that Pangea's climate created. From scorching deserts that stretched for miles to massive rainforests that covered vast areas, Pangea created the perfect environment for unusual and often giant life forms. The land was a mixture of hot, dry deserts and humid, tropical rainforests. Imagine traveling through a landscape that went from sweltering heat to sudden, bone-chilling cold, all within the span of a single day. What if the world we know today, with its oceans, mountains, and weather patterns, is not the real normal? What if Earth was once a radically different place, and we're only just beginning to understand the incredible transformations that reshaped it? Could the Earth's climate have looked completely different back then? And how might that have influenced the way species lived and thrived? This wasn't just about dramatic weather. Pangea's extreme climate also led to some unusual geological phenomena. The lack of oceans meant there were no cooling or moderating effects, and it allowed the land to experience temperature swings that we simply can't imagine today. Even though the climate was extreme, Pangea supported a staggering array of life. The polar regions were frozen, but the equatorial regions were covered in dense jungles, allowing different ecosystems to thrive in isolated pockets. Pangea was alive in a way that Earth has never been since. Let's talk about creatures of the supercontinent. Here's where things get fascinating. The animals. Pangea's vast and varied environments provided shelter for dinosaurs, early mammals, and incredible species that no longer walk the Earth. How did these creatures thrive in such an extreme environment, and what did they look like? We'll look at the giant herbivores grazing across the plains and the ferocious predators hunting them, alongside early life forms and the ancestors of today's species. From the towering, lumbering creatures like Argentinosaurus, a plant-eating dinosaur that could reach lengths of over 100 feet, to the predatory Allosaurus, Pangea was a land of giants. The creatures that lived during Pangea were some of the largest and most awe-inspiring in Earth's history. Imagine walking through forests where giant reptiles ruled the landscape, or witnessing the flight of the earliest flying reptiles that glided through a thick, unbroken sky. This was the era of the dinosaurs, and Pangea was their playground. But it wasn't just about the dinosaurs. This era also gave rise to many lesser-known, but equally extraordinary creatures. In the oceans, massive reptiles like ichthyosaurs ruled, while strange early mammals began to develop characteristics that would one day lead to the creatures we know today. The sheer size and adaptability of Pangea's creatures tell a fascinating story of survival in extreme conditions. How did they manage to live in a world with such intense extremes in weather, climate, and geography? What adaptations did they develop to thrive in such an environment? Let's look into a world in motion. But nothing stays the same forever. Around 175 million years ago, Pangea began to break apart, splitting into pieces that would form the continents we recognize today. But what did that breakup look like? And what effects did it have on life? In this chapter, we'll witness the massive geological upheaval that forever altered Earth's surface. The seas began to rise, new oceans formed, and the climate changed dramatically. The great supercontinent slowly shattered, sending shockwaves through Earth's ecosystems, altering climates and causing mass extinctions. This chapter will look at the start of a new era, setting the stage for the world we know today. As Pangea split, land masses drifted apart, forming the continents we are familiar with today. This movement still continues as tectonic plates slowly shift across the planet's surface. The breakup of Pangea didn't just alter the land, it forever reshaped the world's oceans, climates, and ecosystems. The opening of new oceans like the Atlantic would later create different weather patterns, different habitats, and different species. As life adjusted to these changes, the stage was set for the rise of new creatures and new evolutionary paths. For some species, it meant the end of an era. For others, it meant the opportunity to evolve and adapt to the new world that was emerging. Lessons from the past. Now, let's step back and take a look at the legacy of Pangea. How did this ancient supercontinent shape the geography, climates, and species of today? And what can the rise and fall of Pangea teach us about the future of Earth? From the distribution of species across continents to modern-day earthquakes, volcanoes, and the unpredictable forces of plate tectonics, Pangea's influence can still be felt. We can trace the origins of our continent's shape, our ecosystems, and even our weather patterns all back to this ancient supercontinent. The theory of plate tectonics, which explains how Earth's plates move and shift, all began with the study of Pangea's existence and eventual breakup. This is not just a story of the past, it's a story that informs our future. As the continents continue to drift, there are lessons to be learned about the forces of nature, the fragility of ecosystems, and the resilience of life. We are still living in the shadow of Pangea, and as we explore other planets, we may find that similar supercontinents have existed elsewhere in the universe. So, as you look at the world today, at the oceans, the continents, and the creatures that inhabit them, remember this. Earth was once a very different place. And what we see now is just another chapter in the planet's ever-evolving story. The legacy of Pangea still shapes the Earth we know, from the mountains we climb to the very air we breathe. The question remains, will Earth's continents come together again in another supercontinent? Only time will tell. Now, wishing you a warm and lovely night. Good night.